Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about education for programmers, so let's get into it. The other day I had a subscriber who asked me about a life decision that he was making, where he was trying to figure out whether or not he should get a PhD or a master's some sort in computer science, or if he should be focusing on working. He had already finished his bachelor's degree, and his goal was basically to start working in America and get a visa and some of these types of things, right? And so I thought about it, and I knew what I wanted to say, but thanks to the absolutely amazing work that the people at Stack Overflow has done with compiling a list of backgrounds and so forth for education backgrounds, basically for developers as of 2018, I can now actually give this response with more meat on my bones than just, hey, these are my experiences. So when it comes to education background, what you should know is that education only matters up to a certain point. The thing that I've been telling everybody who's asking me, like, what should I learn and how much should I study and all that stuff, is basically that I've said that you need to invest between 1 to 5 years of education in order to be a normal professional level or professional grade type of developer. It kind of depends on which path you choose, but you should be investing. That's roughly what you that's roughly what you're going to invest. And according to the data that was provided to us from Stack Overflow, the average, roughly 45 or 47% of all developers who took this survey, which is roughly 100,000 people who took the survey. So 45% or 47% of these people were bachelor degrees developers, bachelor degrees. And that's basically exactly what I've told you. That's the average programmer. The average programmer is not a PhD student, not a master thesis, anything like that. Because it gets to a point where you get a diminishing return on investment. Now, what I mean by that is that there's of course no such thing as pointless knowledge, or like knowledge in of itself is useful, but you have to ask yourself, what is the goal? Because if your goal, and that's, I actually asked my subscriber, if your goal is to get a job, then why are you studying to become a PhD? Why are you getting a PhD and not working? For industry, like for your employer, it's much more interesting to have people who have actual work experience, because unless the education that you are getting is relevant or a hard requirement to the job that you want to be able to do, then it feels no value. Just think about it. You have a finite amount of time to learn things. So to me, it makes sense that you focus on learning the things that are most critical, and once you've learned the things that are most critical, you need to practice those skills. And when you have mastered the skills that are most critical to you, then you start thinking about, all right, how can I supplement this knowledge with things that are sorta relevant, like kinda relevant. And so that's basically what I told my subscriber. I would say that it depends on what your thesis is about. If you want to be a master, I don't know, cryptographer or something in the security industry, and you're doing a thesis based on that field, then yeah, that is really relevant. But if you're just looking for a job, work experience is going to outweigh a fancy degree by a lot, because the degree is only going to matter, as I've said before, if it's a hard requirement for the job or at the very beginning, basically when you have no prior work knowledge. Because if you have been working, you have proof that you have skills. If you only have an education, you don't have any proof. you are just, you have potential. With education you have potential, but you can't prove that you are good at what you do because you have nothing to show basically to an employer. And that's at least my experience, that a bachelor's degree, I mean, that's what I have. Most of my colleagues have that as well, and as I said, that's the norm. Most programmers don't get PhDs and masters and so forth. Some do. It doesn't really matter all that much. It's the same thing with certifications. It doesn't really matter unless it's a very specific thing that you're doing. And so what I want to tell you with this is that if you're asking the question, how much education do I have to get in order to be a normal level or a professional level developer, what are their education background? Go and look at Stack Overflow's their data that they released, and you'll have it there, black on white. Most of us have a bachelor's degree. That's the norm. You don't have to kill yourself with education, because at the end of the day, people don't hire, IT companies do not hire you because you have a fancy degree. They hire you because you can do things. Some companies, unfortunately, have it as a screening process that they only accept people with a certain degree. And you have to kind of ask yourself, it depends. I mean, most of the screening processes that I've seen do have it as a hard requirement that you have to have a bachelor's degree in something. So if you have a bachelor's degree, you are applicable for most things. It's very rare, at least from my experience, that an employer is going to require a candidate to have a master's or a PhD. That is it's very rare. Can happen, but it's rare. So to sum it all up, get a bachelor's degree and start working. If you're just looking for a job, there's no more magic to it. Have a great day.